Good morning, everybody at our Post Falls campus. It's so good to be able to come to you by video and just be able to speak to all of us at all of our campuses this weekend. The reason why I'm doing this is because we are going to be talking about the same thing at every one of our campuses, and I wanted to take this special moment to be with you. And I know this is not normally the way we do our worship experiences or communicate truth to you, but I just wanted to take this moment and be with you because we want to convey something to you that we believe is so very important. One of the things that has been very prominent and things that we do every single year is we try to set out a vision for what we have coming up in the year that we're entering into. So when we stepped into the year of 2018, if you we're kind of noticing, we didn't come out and give kind of a premise for the year. We didn't come out and give kind of a full direction for the year. It's the first time in many years that we've never done that before, but there was a reason for that. And the reason for that is because we were working some things internally behind the scenes in all of our campuses and doing some things by way of leadership that we were kind of testing on us before we released it to you. So now that we've been able to do all that, I'm going to begin to spend this morning with you, and Pastor Rob and is going to begin to talk to you for a few weeks after this to let you know exactly what we have going. But I want to just say this to you and let you know the very thing that we're going to be talking about this morning in 5 weeks thereafter are going to be probably the most shaping and powerful and important concept that we have ever introduced since I've been the lead pastor at Post Falls, Reno, and Sparks. So with that in mind, I want you to lock down, get a mobile device, get something to write on, because I'm going to introduce something to you that I believe is going to help all of our lives. One of the things I understand that I believe more than ever before is that we are living in today's culture in one of the most important times in the history that we have known, recent history. I think that we are living in a time that great things can begin to happen inside of our cities, inside of our lives, inside of our churches, inside of our families. I know that there are many pervasive issues that we're facing. I know there are many things that are pressing in, and there's many tensions that we face in our nation right now. But make no mistake about it, during those times of turmoil, and when things seem to be maybe a little have moments of upheaval in our culture, to me, those are the greatest moments when God is doing something phenomenal in our nation or in our hearts or in our churches. That being said, I think it's important for each and every one of us to understand that God has given all of us, you, me, every one of us, a length of days that we would call a lifetime. God knows our ending from our beginning. That is important for us to realize that, because it's not that we have been given a lifetime. It's not that we've been given a span of days on this earth. The question that I want us to begin to think about with ourselves is, what are we going to do with the time that we have been given? That is going to has to be answered by every person, because the idea becomes this: the most important thing that you possess as a person in your life, my life, our life together, is a quality called time, or the commodity called time. Time is the most important thing that one of the most important things that God has placed inside your hand. The reason why time is so important, because once you spend it, you can't get it back. The only thing that you can do with time is that once you use your time on something or certain things, all it does is return back to you what you spent your time on. For example, if you spent your time on just kind of kicking back and watching some Netflix and eating popcorn and Ben and Jerry's ice cream, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get some Ben and Jerry's ice cream, some popcorn, and some Netflix, because that's what you gave your time to. If you gave your time to other things like your family or whatever the case may be, those things are going to reap rewards. So time has a way of paying you back. So the idea becomes, what do we do as people with the time that we've been given? Because every one of us that are in this room, we have the opportunity to maximize the moments in the time that God has given you and I. Now I want you to think about this. Think about your routine. Think about the things that you have to do every single day of your life, the things that you do every day. I'm talking about Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm talking about getting up, getting in the shower, brushing your teeth, doing your to-do list, going to work, raising your kids, doing dinner, doing dishes, the routine of life. Those are the things that each and every one of us, we have to do those things. We can't get away from those things. We have to do those things. But you know what can become a reality for all of us? Is that we can run into the opportunity where our life and our time gets maximized by the things that we feel we have to do. The laundry list, the to-do list that probably most of us in this room have lived by day. And sometimes there's not a lot of variation from week to week, month to month, or day to day. That being said, I want to ask you a question. What calls to you? What really calls to your heart? What calls to your life? It's not the idea, these are the things that I have to do, but the question is, what should I do? You see, what should I be doing with my time? What should I be doing with my life? See, those are the questions that we have to answer, because every one of us in this room have something, or should have something, that calls to us, that gives us a sense of purpose. One of the things I want you to understand is that passion is what I like to do. Every one of us have a passion for the things we like to do. Our potential is what I could be doing. These are the things that I had the potential to accomplish. But my purpose is what I am supposed to do. The things that I'm supposed to do with my life, and the things that I'm supposed to do with my time. I think those are the things that we have to understand, because a lot of people get lost in trying to fulfill their potential. A lot of people get lost in trying to fulfill their passions. I understand the potential, the passion element of it. But can I say this to you? What really makes our life count, what really makes our life worth living, is not just living for passion or potential, but living for purpose. What are we supposed to do? See, my prayer for all of us this morning, for each and every one of us that are in this room, is found in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verses 20 and 21. This is what this says to us, and this is what I want us to understand. It says that now may the God of peace, listen to this, now may the God of peace equip you with everything good for doing His will. Look at that. May the God of peace equip you with everything to do His will. Watch. And may He work in us what is pleasing to Him. Notice the language. May He work inside of each and every one of us what is pleasing, not to me, not to the person that's sitting next to you, but may He work His purpose inside of us, because that is pleasing to Him through Christ Jesus. Wow, that is such a phenomenal prayer, because that causes us to live for not our purpose. That causes us not to live for our things, but really it is a cause that allows us to live for something that is bigger than us. It reminds me of the story of John when he writes about the last days of Jesus before He went on the cross. And in John 18, you will see that Jesus is standing before Pontius Pilate. And Pontius Pilate is asking Jesus a series of questions as if he is on trial for his life. And in certain respects, he was. But one of the questions that Pontius Pilate asked him, he says, "Are you a king?" And Jesus' response to him is this. He says, "My kingdom is not from this earth." He says, if I wanted to, I could call angels and they could deliver me out of the situation immediately. But the response that Jesus says after he answers that one question, has spoken volumes to my heart and to my life for years. This is what Jesus says. He says, "For this cause I have come, and for this cause I live for." In other words, Jesus had a cause and a mission while He was here upon the earth. He lived for the purpose of the Father. His cause was the Father's cause. His purpose was the Father's purpose. And see, I want to know from us today, what is the very cause that we are living for today? And what is the very thing that is calling to you this morning? You see, I don't know about you, But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done with the life that I live and the time that I've been given, I want to be able to stand before God and say to him that I have done my best and I have lived for the cause of Christ in the earth. And I want to encourage you this morning, wherever you may be, whatever challenges you may be facing today, whatever thoughts you may be having this morning, I want to encourage you to take a moment and make a prayer and ask God, God, help me to live for your cause. Show me your cause in the earth, because if Jesus had that cause, living for the Father's purpose, then we should have the same thing. You see, let me take this a little bit further with you, because I think unfolding this concept to all of us is going to be important. You see, when you receive Jesus, you just didn't receive salvation. You just weren't given the opportunity to go to heaven. All of that is great. You see, when you receive Jesus in your heart and in your life, according to Galatians chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, you were given a commodity that lives inside of you. You were given something that is called the blessing of Abraham through Christ. Now, when most people think about the blessing of Abraham, they're not even sure what that means to all of us. But if we can understand what that means to us, then that will allow our life to understand, or be able to us to understand exactly what lives inside of us and what does the blessing of Abraham mean. You see, ladies and gentlemen, when you receive Christ, you receive his purpose, you receive the commodity of faith. Every person, when they're born again, is given the capacity to believe against all odds. You see, when you are born again, when you receive Christ into your heart, he puts certain things inside of you. Certain things that you didn't have before you had him. And one of the things that he puts inside of every person is called the blessing of Abraham. Now, that is more clearly expressed if you look with me in Genesis, the 12th chapter. We're going to talk a little bit, just for a moment, about the blessing of Abraham. Because what God did to a man called Abraham is God brought him out of the land of Mesopotamia, which was a pagan land. And God brought him and told him, listen, I want you to leave your father's house, and I am going to do something phenomenal in your life. So let's look at this real quick at Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 3. This is what God says to him. Now the Lord said to Abram, get out of your country. In other words, watch, get out of your country. What are you saying? Get out of your country? Abram, get out of the place that has been familiar to you. Get out of your comfort zone. Get out of the place where you have just spent the majority of your life and your time just being comfortable. That's what God is saying to him. So he is saying, Abram, I want you to get out of your comfort zone, and I want you to leave your family or the things that have just been normal to you, and I want you to go from your father's house, watch, to a land that I will show you. Notice, God didn't tell him where he was going. He just asked him to start believing and trusting. But here's what he says to him in verses 2 and 3 that is so meaningful to you and I. He says, and I will make you a great nation. And then he says, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. Look at verse 3. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. Notice the words, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. I want you to pay close attention to that verbiage. Notice the blessing of Abraham was not what he had on the outside, but notice the Lord placed the blessing in Abraham. And in you, this is what he says, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. So what God is saying to Abram, he said, Abram, I'm going to bless you. I'm going to put the blessing inside of you. And through the blessing that I put inside of you, you will have the capacity to bless other people. Wow. What a concept. What a concept. Now, let me just be very clear. Because we think the blessing is something or things that we possess on the outside. Our houses, our cars, are the things that we possess materialistically. Those are great things. And thank God that he has blessed us with those things. But can I say this to you? The blessing is not what you have. The blessing is who you have. You see, when God was speaking to Abram in Genesis chapter 15, this is what God said to Abram. He said, Abram, I want you to understand this one thing, that I am your exceedingly and great reward. In other words, Abram, I can give you nothing better than just myself. I am as good as I'm going to give you. In other words, there's nothing better you can have in your life except for me. So it's not what you have, Abram. It's who you have. That is important for us to realize, that the blessing is who we have inside of us. Thank God for the blessing of Christ in us. Important. Now notice, this is what I want you to understand. Look at verse 2 and 3. It says, I will make you a great nation, and I will bless those that bless you, and you shall be a blessing. Here's what I want you to understand. You are blessed. You and I, we are blessed. But we're not blessed just for ourselves. I want you to realize this morning that we are blessed so we can be a blessing. We are blessed so we can be a blessing. Let me say this to you again. We are blessed so we can be a blessing. That is a phenomenal truth. Meaning, we have been blessed by God, by Christ, and by Christ who lives in us. We have been blessed so you and I can be a blessing. Now I want you to understand something. This is important because when we talk about the blessing of Abraham, most people have no concept what that thought even means. They have no idea what that thought, what the premise of that means. The blessing of Abraham includes three things. It includes God taking who we are through Christ. It includes the blessing of elevation. It includes the blessing of possession. And it includes the blessing of dominion. Now let me run through those just real quick for you, just real quick. The blessing of elevation simply means this, that when you receive Jesus in your heart, God elevated you over the things that used to push you under. There's some of us in this room this morning that we used to be under a lot of pressure, maybe depression, maybe some things that we've had to battle our whole life. But the moment you received Jesus and he came into your heart, can I say this to you? He put you over what you used to be under. Isn't that powerful? He put you over what you used to be under. And I want to say this to you. Maybe you're sitting here today and you don't feel that. But can I say this to you? The reality of Jesus living inside of you does not change that. You are over even though you may feel under. I want to encourage you today to take a step and be over and say, God, I'm over. Although I feel like I'm under, I'm not going to be under anymore. I have the blessing of Jesus in me. I'm over what I used to be under. And then it talks about the blessing of possession. In other words, that the moment we receive Christ, that we have the ability to possess something great deep down inside of us. We have the capacity to have what we could not have before. Healing, freedom, deliverance, the ability to forgive, to love, prosperity and blessing in our life. That we have been given the capacity to have possession, not just worldly goods. That's not what we're after. Although, thank God for that stuff. But remember, the blessing and the richness of God are the things that we possess through Christ Jesus, not the things we possess materialistically. Although those are okay things to have. So we have the ability to possess things that we didn't have before we had Jesus, and then the ability to have dominion. That means our capacity to control the life that we live every day. It means the capacity to govern the affairs of our existence. You say, Pastor, why is that important for those three steps? Why is it important for elevation, possession, and dominion? Because those are the things that Jesus put in you when you, as a person, received him. But that's not just for you. What he is saying, I put that inside of you, so the very thing that I put inside of you, you can give to other people. There are people that you know and people you can see every day of your life that you may encounter that are living under the pressure of life, that have never had or possessed happiness, joy, or freedom. They've never been able to control the affairs of their life. What Jesus is saying, the very things that I put deep down inside of you and blessed you with, I want you to take what I've given you and I want you to reach beyond yourself and bless other people. Wow. That is a phenomenal power that lives inside of us. Remember this. We are blessed to be a blessing. See, the thought is this: whatever you have that you don't share, you have illegitimately. Meaning, freely you have been given, freely we have received, freely we are to give out. So the idea becomes that God gives to us so we can funnel what has been given to us through his love, grace, and empowerment and give it to people that are around us. See, Pastor, that's a big ask. That's a big deal. It is. But let me say this to you. Let me help you with this. You see, for the next 5 weeks, I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to take a journey with us for the next 5 weeks. Today and 5 weeks thereafter. We are going to, over the next 5 weeks, unfold to you the very thing that we are going to be living in. It's not a program, it's a lifestyle that we are going to be living in over the next year, 2019, the remaining quarter of 2018, and it's going to launch us into 2019. I want you to take a journey with me, the leadership, the pastors, the campus pastors, Pastor Didi and I want you to take a journey because all the campuses are going to be taking the same journey. And that journey is to be able to understand the mission of Christ. You see, I'm going to ask you to take a step with me this morning. I'm going to ask you today to shift your focus. I'm going to ask you this morning to maybe live for things that are greater than ourselves. I'm going to ask you to live for the mission of Jesus and understand that you have been blessed by Christ so you can be a blessing to people. That is a phenomenal thought. Do you know why? Do you know why this is important? Because I know we know it. I know we feel it. But you see, we live in a culture that is hurting. We live in a culture that is broken. There are so many hurting and broken people in our nation. People you work with, people that are in your neighborhoods, people that you do activities with, people that you're surrounded with. There are hurting and broken people, and they are lost and don't understand how to get their life to a better place. But can I say this to you? You have the capacity, the permission, and the ability through Christ in you to help pull their life from a dark place and elevate them to a good place. You see, this is what I want to challenge you with, because the mission of Jesus, that can be such an arbitrary thought. That can be such a loose concept. But I want to really narrow it down for you so you understand exactly what that means to you and I. You see, the mission of Jesus includes 3 things, and I want to explain them to you real quick. The mission of Jesus, number 1, includes the capacity to reach. The capacity to reach. That you and I have been given the ability to reach to people that are around us and help their life. You see, it is not just our opportunity, it is also our responsibility to reach to people. As a matter of fact, if you notice the life of Jesus, he lived this way. It reminds me of the story in John the 4th chapter. In John the 4th chapter, Jesus was walking with his disciples. And this is what John 4 says. John 4 says that he had to, listen, this is important, that he had the need to go through Samaria. He had the need to go through Samaria. Now, you may say, well, Pastor, Jesus walked everywhere. He went through different cities all the time. Yes, but you see, you have to understand, Samaria was different. Samaria was the very place that the Jews avoided, and it was a very people that the Jews despised, and may I say to you, hated for the most part. They were half-breeds. And the Jews didn't like the fact that they were intermingled with other nations and other people. They didn't accept that. And so even if Samaria was the next city in front of them, what Jewish people would do was they would walk around Samaria to get to the next city because they didn't want to go through Samaria. So Jesus is walking with his disciples going to another city, but in order for him to go there, he can go around or he can go to. And Jesus feels the need to go right through to Samaria. The need was calling to him, and he meets a woman there at the well. And the woman that he meets at the well is drawing water from the well, and at a very obscure time. It was late in the day. She lives in a desert climate, which is very hot. And there she is. She's drawing water out of the well. And she's drawing it. And Jesus walks up to her and begins to dialogue with her. Very important. He begins to reach out to her and begins to touch her life. So important story. Because when you see what Jesus did, he didn't accuse her of her lifestyle, because in the dialogue that he was talking about, he began to dialogue and find out, and he began to read into her life and said, hey, you've had 5 husbands, and the guy you're living with right now is your 6th boyfriend. He's not even your husband, right? He's number 6, and could be, you could be on the way. He says, but I want to let you know that although you've been in that situation, you can partake or drink from the well of the living water that lives inside of me, of who I am, and you will have no more thirst for the rest of your life. And that encounter with Jesus changed her entire life. It changed her life. Because in that moment, Jesus reached to who she was and where she was. What's interesting about that story is that she was going to draw water out of the well at an obscure time, which most people do it in the early of the day. But there's a reason why she wasn't doing it early in the day. There's a reason why she wasn't at the well when everybody else was at the well. Could it be she was embarrassed? Could it be that she was living in shame, in fear? Could it be that? But you see, that didn't stop Jesus. What I love about that story, it shows to you and I that Jesus had a mission when he was on earth. He had a mission, and his mission was to reach to people and pull them from where they were and to bless their life. So I want to say this to you. I read that story and I see that Jesus had a mission when he was on earth to reach people. And if Jesus had a mission, it says to you and I that we also have that same mission. So the first part of the mission of Jesus is that we are to reach to people. The second part of the mission of Jesus is that we are here to restore people. To restore. The second part of the mission of Jesus includes restore. Reach people and restore. Why? Restore what? Restore the dream that God has for them in their life. You see, God's dream for their life is that every person would come to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. That's God's dream for all of humanity. That's God's dream for everybody. And I think it's important for you to understand that. Let me just say this to you, that whenever God looks at the world, he doesn't look at the world punitively. He looks at it redemptively. He looks at it redemptively. He wants to redeem mankind because his vision and his desire and his dream for all of mankind is for everybody to be restored to them, to him. That is the mission of Jesus, to reach and to restore. See, that is important, but also not only restore them, God's dream for them, but also they have a dream in their life. There's so many people that we look at that are missing the dreams of their life. They've only dreamed, but never had. They've only desired, but never possessed. They live under the things, and we are here to reach out to them and restore hope back to people who don't have any hope. So part of the mission of Jesus is to reach to people and restore the dream that God has for them in their life, and that dream is for them to know him. The last thing that the dream talks about, or the mission of Jesus, refers to, is to reproduce inside of other people. The dream or the mission of Jesus. You see, I like this. Reach, restore, reproduce. Watch. Reach, restore, reproduce, meaning when you have the mission living inside of you, the mission of Jesus, may I say, not just the mission of Jesus, but the cause of Jesus. When you have that living inside of you, it burns inside of you. And can I say, you don't want to just keep it to yourself. You want to give it to other people. That's exactly what happened to the woman at the well. Because in John chapter 4, I believe it's verse 39, the moment they finished their encounter with Jesus, what did she do? She went into her next city, into her city, and she began to tell everybody about the goodness and what Jesus did. What did she do? She received the mission of Jesus, and she also reproduced the mission of Jesus in other people. And that's what we are to do. You see, it's not enough for you and I as people just to have the mission just for us. We must give it to the people we serve with. We must give it to the people that are around us, because we have to understand this mission is worth living for, and this cause is worth giving our life for. So the mission of Jesus is that we're here to reach people, we're here to restore people, and we're here to reproduce the mission inside of Jesus. You see, this is my challenge to you. My challenge to you is to say to yourself that at the centerpiece of my heart and the centerpiece of my life is not only going to be my Savior, but it's going to be His mission. You see, I want to encourage you to let you know that Jesus had His mission to reach people, to restore people, and to reproduce His love inside of people. But can I say this to you? That mission is not just Jesus' mission. That mission is just not the church's mission. That mission is your mission. That mission is my mission. You see, as a Christ follower, it is no longer acceptable for us as Christ followers to sit inside of our churches and not adopt the mission of Jesus. That is not a biblical model. You see, our biggest trouble sometimes is that we understand the message of the Bible, but we don't follow the method of the Bible. See, we know the message of Jesus, but we don't follow the method of Jesus. See, Jesus knew the message was Him, but the method was to get it to people. And what we have to understand and what we have to do as Christ followers is that we have to, as Christ followers, not to just understand the message, we have to follow the method. And what is a method? The method is to reach to people and to be a blessing to them. You see, I don't see that model in the New Testament. As a matter of fact, if you study the New Testament, you will always see people who are Christ followers that follow Him, but also engage His mission. It's not just follow Him. It's not just attend church. It's follow Him and engage His mission. Watch. Follow Him and engage His mission. Follow Him, embrace His message, but also embrace His method. His method, which was what? To bless people in the earth. See, I'm asking you today, I'm asking all of us, at all of our campuses to take a step today, at all of our campuses to take a step. I'm going to ask you to live and let the centerpiece of your heart be the mission of Jesus. I want something to call to you, His purpose, to live deep down inside of you, so deep and burn deep down inside. It calls to you. That God begins to put people on your heart. That you begin to see with His eyes. You begin to feel with His heart. You begin to see what He sees and you feel what He feels. I want all of us to feel the mission of Jesus living in us, because that is worth giving our life for. Wow. Phenomenal thought. Here's my challenge to all of us. That I want us to do for this next series of days, 17 months. I want all of us, starting from October, or when we finish the series that we're going to be talking about, I want you to do this. At the end of 2019, I want every person in all of our campuses to be able to stand up and say to themselves that I have a story where I have fulfilled the mission of Jesus, and I have reached beyond myself, and I have blessed somebody's life. That's my challenge to you. My challenge to you is to look beyond yourself and be a blessing to somebody. Now, right now, they're going to be putting up the word bless on the screen. You see that word bless right there? That is an acronym that we are going to be unfolding and preaching on every single letter of that word. And every one of those letters is going to be a very achievable, doable way of fulfilling the mission of Jesus that I'm going to ask everybody to engage in. You see, the reason why we didn't unfold the vision for 2018 is because we wanted to take this concept, and we as leaders, as staff people, campus leaders, central services leader, we wanted to take this lifestyle of being a blessing to people, and we wanted to live it ourselves so we could be able to tell you what we have been doing for the last 9 months and what we have been living in and what we have been practicing. See, this is not something we just arbitrarily picked up. This is something we feel that we are. This is who Victory City Church is. We feel that we are here. We are here to serve our city, to empower people. We're here to reach beyond ourselves and touch people who are very, very far from God and show them that God can help their life. That's why we haven't released a vision for 2018, because we wanted to live this lifestyle before we presented it to you. We wanted to be in it. And we have many stories and great people that are saying things that have happened to them about living this kind of lifestyle. So you see the acronym right there. On the next 5 weeks, we are going to be talking about every single one of those letters and what does this mean to each and every one of us. So you say, Pastor, what do you want me to do? This is what I want you to do for us. This is what I need you to do for the next 5 weeks. I need you to do this. Number one, I need you to join a city group. If you are not in a city group, you need to join a city group. Say, why, Pastor? Because we are going to be talking about this in all of our city groups. And can I be honest with you? It is so important that you understand this lifestyle that we are called to live in. It is so important that you understand the message that we're leaning towards this year in the church in 2019. It is critical to you and critical for us to be on mission. It's critical for us to live for the mission of Jesus. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sitting in our small groups and we're going to be talking about the mission of Jesus. We're going to be talking about what does this word bless really mean to us and how does this apply to our daily life. So if you are not in a city group, I'm going to challenge you and I'm going to encourage you to join a city group. The second thing I need you to do is I need you to come to church for 5 weeks in a row. I want you as much as possible to be at every one of these worship experiences so you can understand the life of this. You see, it's not important for us to get the message of it. We have to embrace the life of it. We have to embrace the spirit of the mission of Jesus, not the mechanics. We can't get caught in the mechanics, because if we just get caught in the mechanics, then it's just something we do. It's not something we are. When you embrace the spirit of something, it becomes the very essence of who you are as a person. So I want to challenge you to come to church for 5 weeks in a row. And let's do this, Victory City Church. Let's do this life together. This is what we do. We do this life together. We feel that life is best shared when it is given to people who need it. We feel that life counts. See, if you want your life to change, then participate in somebody else's life change. If you want your life to go to a greater place, then participate in somebody's lifetime. Remember, you are blessed to be a blessing. This is what we're doing, and I'm so excited about it. So join a city group. Join a city group. Come 5 weeks in a row and begin to ask God, at the end of 2019, I want to be able to stand before you and say to you that I have fulfilled and embraced and engaged the spirit of your mission, and it calls to me. And Lord, this is what I live for. This is what I live for. Wow, what a great thing. I want to tell you something, all of our campuses, that this is going to be one of the most powerful things that we have ever embarked on. You see, it reminds me, just think about the stories of life change that you are aware of. Think of the stories that you have had, the stories of the people that you are aware of where Jesus has changed their life. This is where we're going. Let's take this challenge together. This is who we are. We are going to be talking about bless for the next 5 weeks. Remember, we are blessed to be a blessing. I'm going to turn it over to your campus pastors right now. I'm going to let them begin to talk to you a little bit more about the detail. But I want to say to you that I love each and every one of you. I'm excited for our future, because our future is not going to be just looking inward. It's going to be looking to the mission of Jesus. And my prayer is that we will live for it like never before. God bless you all. I can't wait to be with you very soon. I pray for you always. Let's live on mission for the mission. God bless you.